Okay, this video is for Nick the car guy. He asked how to replace the high pressure pump on the 1.5 liter EcoBoost, and this one I am doing the block replacement for the new updated block because it's losing coolant, and I just stripped the wiring harness off of it. But here we are at the top of the engine. This is just a quick connect. It goes to one of the fuel lines right there where the fuel pressure sensor is, and to disconnect that you need a 5/16 fuel quick disconnect tool. Pretty easy. Just slides in over the line, goes in there, pushes the tabs back. As you pull up in it, they slide the fuel line off. Some people want to de-energize the fuel system by pulling the fuel pump fuse and running it out of fuel. I don't think you really need to do that. If you just shut the vehicle down and let it sit for a while, it'll dissipate a lot of the fuel line pressure. And then you could just come up with your quick disconnect tool, put a rag around the line, and then pull this off. What you're down to is a connector on the pump. So you go ahead and pull the connector on the pump, and you have a high pressure fuel line here. I think it's 17 or 18 millimeter. So you'll pull both lines off. This high pressure fuel line or transfer line needs to be replaced. It cannot be reused. Some guys do reuse it. They just go a little bit past the snug torque, or the torque that they would typically have. Sometimes you get a feel for that stuff. I've never seen them leak. Even if you don't torque them, you just get a feel for what they're supposed to be at. And I'll go ahead and pull that fuel line real quick. So just a 17 millimeter wrench, a little bit of fuel comes out, normal. Go ahead and pull your fuel line off. You can reuse it if you need to, if you don't have any other means of getting another one. But most people, they'll reuse it because there's a soft face on these, and these are form fit, so whenever you crush these in, they form to the face of the fuel pump. This line will actually stay, and I believe it's a T27, two T27s. Okay, I pulled both T27s out. The fuel pump actually popped up on its own. The reason it popped up is because there was pressure on the spring. So let me go around to the back of the engine and I'll show you what I'm talking about. You can go ahead and pull the fuel pump off and set it aside for now. You can put it in a bag if you want to. I'm going to clean all that out anyway. There is an O-ring that's replaceable there, but it is not necessary. I've seen guys reuse it just fine. It's just to keep oil from coming out around it. Inside this hole, there's a tappet down inside here, or what they would call a bucket. And it's driven off of a fuel pump cam lobe. And you see all that cam lobe is partially up. You ain't gonna be able to see it very good from here. But if I turn it, you'll see a flat spot. And when you go to put the pump back in, you want that to be in its flat spot. This is the tappet that it's driven off of. One of the ways that you can tell if somebody does really good maintenance on their vehicle is when you pull the high pressure fuel pump. If you actually look at the bottom of this, you can see whether or not it's clean or it's all chewed up. A lot of times when you pull this out...
Hey, how's everybody?
Sorry about that, my walkie-talkie was going off. A lot of times when you pull this, you'll see it all chewed up and it's all chunky down inside the head. And people aren't doing their maintenance properly, and that's one of the reasons why these wear through. Actually, it'll wear the cam lobe, it'll wear this, and then it'll get into the bottom of the fuel pump and you destroy everything, and then the engine's got to be replaced, rebuilt. More than likely replaced, because they're going to have chunks of oil or metal all through it. This is literally how you do it. Now say tappet's good, set it aside. Say you go to put the engine and stuff back. We're going to turn this over until we see a flat spot on that cam. So get an 18 millimeter socket and a 1/2 inch drive ratchet and turn this crank over until you got a flat spot on that lobe up there. Okay, 18 millimeter. Alright, there's the flat spot right there. The lobe is completely down. Now that's the safest spot to put the high pressure fuel pump back in the system, is with that cam lobe all the way out of the hole completely. Then you'll take the bucket, you'll drop the bucket back inside the hole, Then you'll take your fuel pump, fuel line towards the left if you're looking at it from the back. If you're looking at it from the front, fuel line towards the right. And you see how much so that cam lobe is in its lowest position right now. See how close it is? Then I have it pressed down by hand, and I'll go ahead and feed those T27s back in there, and I will get them torqued down. And that's pretty much it. So I hope that explains pretty good on how to replace the high pressure fuel pump on a 1.5 liter EcoBoost. Remember, when you go to start the system back up, key on, let it sit 15 seconds, key off. Key on, cycle it a few times, get fuel up to that high pressure fuel pump. Really once is fine, maybe twice, but that at most you'll be ready to fire. And it's going to stutter a little bit for about the first 5 to 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and it'll clear up, clear your codes, and you're good to go. Thanks guys.